Business Speaker Series. We've brought together some amazing speakers discussing various topics affecting small businesses. This series is sponsored by NBC Universal, PSE&G, New Jersey Innovation Institute, NJIT, ZD Glover Insurance and Financial, Websignia, and Women Tech Makers New Jersey.
Good afternoon. I'm super excited to be a part of and sponsoring the first annual Small Business Speaker Series organized by the Circl. My goal today is to provide small business owners with high-level overview of solutions that will support the investment in their business. State Farm in my office service extends well beyond insurance products. I know a lot of people, when they think of State Farm, they think of insurance products, but we also offer a wide range of financial products that support small business owners. So what I want to do today is utilize this time to educate you on some of the financial products that we have that can help support your business, your needs, and inform you on how some of these decisions for small business owners would provide great solutions to protecting your assets. Also note that at State Farm and in my office, we also have a full team of professionals that can work closely with your tax advisors, your legal team, and again, this is where small business owners tend to be lost. There's a lot of support and network around a big business, a lot of internal services for those businesses, but who is looking out for the small business owners? Like many of you, I am also a small business owner. I am now in my 10th year of business and owning my agency. I've been in the industry for 24 years now. My office is located in downtown Newark, but we're also fully licensed to service New Jersey and New York. So, what are the benefits you're going to get out of today? One of the things I'm offering is a one-on-one meeting to conduct a complimentary insurance and financial review for you as a business owner. We can provide this either by phone or in person. During that appointment, what we hope to accomplish is to break down some of the information that you'll receive today, and then really take a close look on how can we customize some of the financial solutions that we suggest today to your business. During the presentation, please feel free to post any comments, questions. I really want you to engage and give me any feedback that you have. So again, if you look here, benefits that you'll get is helping you prioritize the goals in your business, provide you with some resources that you can utilize in your business. Just like you, I know there's a lot of changes that are consistently going on in your business. You have staff coming in and out. Sometimes you have to change location. You have new strategies, new visions sometimes. All of these challenges for a small business owner tends to take up a lot of the time. But then how do you focus in on where are you today? Where do you want to be in the future? And I understand how that impacts your business. As a matter of fact, the last 4 months, I've been going through a remodel of my own office, and that challenge of keeping my team on target, please keeping up with the goals because it's very critical. We still have to generate revenue as a business, but again, the plan was initially 30 days, it ended up taking 4 months and still not a done remodel project. So half my other time this year has been spent being a project construction manager. So, as we go through this, just keep in mind, any information I provide today is not intended to give you tax or legal advice. I'm not the expert in that. We just want to try to provide you some insights on things that might be helpful. You still need to, and I encourage you to seek advice from your own tax and legal consultants or counsel. So let's get to it. What are some of your concerns? What keeps you up at night as a business owner? Again, post and engage. I want to hear what you guys are thinking. I know me as a business owner, I get preoccupied running my business day to day that I forget about some of the long-term insurance and financial strategies that I need to be implementing. Often we focus in on that day-to-day activities while your long-term outlook and your financial well-being of your business may be put off to another day. Your business and your legacy are one and the same, and one of the critical things of a small business owner, usually that business is a substantial part of your asset or your net worth. So it is very important that you take a look at on what are you doing to look at your business today, plan for the future, and again, retain that business. I know when I started the business, it was very difficult going into the entrepreneur field after working in corporate America. All the hard work and time that you invested in building this business, you want to make sure it prospers and long into the future and pass on from generation to generation. But it requires critical planning. So let's take a moment, think about the things that impact your business. Have you considered what will happen to your business if there's a loss? What will happen if you decide to retire? Or what if any events force you to leave your business early than you anticipated? Do you have a plan? Do you have solutions? I understand the sacrifice it takes to run your own business, not just the sacrifice of resources and assets, but even on your family. So again, let's think about what keeps you up at night. I know for me, all the money and time invested in this, one of my big goals is to make sure, as one of the first entrepreneurs and business owners in my family, is to make sure that this business passes on to my daughter. Now, as we explore solutions, we need to make sure we take a look at where are you in your business life cycle. Not every solution is going to fit every business. So again, the chart above is intended to make high-level recommendations so you can examine your needs. Let's look at the 4 business life cycles. The first one is the startup stage. I tend to say this is like the little eagle that's trying to fly and trying to basically prey on other business. You're trying to get out there, take what your competition has. When you're in this business cycle, you're trying to establish the business, and most of your resources are going back into your business to implement your vision and strategy. So there's usually limited resources because a lot of the resources have been used to the initial investment. So again, what's really needed here is just kind of protecting what you initially invested in that business. And so when you look at the life cycle, there's minimum recommendations, but we do break that down. What do you need for the business? What do you need as the owner and key people in your business? And then what do you need for your employees? Obviously, anybody going into business, this is a great place to be, is to move on to the next cycle. Being in the startup stage is tough, but you want to move on to that growth stage. This is where you're starting to see all that hard work come together. You're increasing your sales, you're increasing your customers. You know, I remember that first year and thinking about what did I want to get done, and I know the only 2 things I thought about was growth and productivity. How do I produce and how do I get bigger as fast as possible? During this, you're dealing with a lot of competition issues. The business is increasing, the number of employees are increasing. This is a really good time to take a step back and reevaluate all those initial things you thought about as an initial business owner in your business plan. Are they working? Do I need to retool? Because when you're writing the business plan and you actually get live, did that actually play out the way I thought it would? So this is a good time to evaluate your business plan and tweak it, and then simply, are those strategies still working for you? And again, ultimately, you want to get to the maturity stage of your business. You're tough, you're built strong, your solid foundation is there. By this stage, the business has stable, loyal customer base. Your growth is stable. You continue to evaluate the market and look at ways your business can improve, and keeping an eye on the market competition. One of the things that a lot of small business owners miss is going through this cycle, those 3 initial cycles. Obviously, as you grow and your employees grow, your revenue is growing. You also, to get to that stable phase, you have got to have some key things in place that retain the quality of the employees you start to obtain. So as you look at this business cycle, some of the things that you see changing is maybe considering more employee benefits. Those resources are very limited when you're a startup company because you're trying to grow and get profitable. Obviously, as you get to the maturity stage and you're trying to retain quality employees, those benefits become real critical to keeping those quality employees, recruiting those quality employees, and just having the right liability to protect your business. Obviously, you know, the final stage is transfer. One of the things small business owners don't think about is what happens when I'm too tired to work, right? I know I sleep, eat, and dream of my business all the way around the clock all the time. And so, as I get older, I want to make sure I have a plan today that will make sure if I decide to retire or close my business or sell my business, when I get to that stage, all the things I did when I was in my growth and maturity stage would make sure I get there. I thought that when I started working, one of my goals is I wanted to retire by 55. So that requires planning and thinking it through. Obviously, if I want, I mentioned earlier, I wanted this business to stay with my daughter. So one of the things I have to do is just make sure that she's fully prepared so that I can retire safely and have my legacy pass on. In this business life cycle chart, you'll go in and out sometimes, but again, you look at the 3 categories on the chart. What is needed for the business, what is needed for you as the owner or even key employees or persons in your office. If you have a specific business that requires a specific talent and it's not common in the marketplace, we're not talking about clerical, we're talking about maybe high-tech skills or certain licenses, you need to make sure that you're doing the right thing to retain that, especially if the market is competitive with you as a small business owner. Again, it's important that you look at your business, and we at State Farm, again, are trying to provide the right products. This is the part of the market that's being missed, and as we go through the rest of the presentation, again, I'll kind of point out how those market products fit you and depending on what stage you are in your business. Okay. Essential elements of your business when you're reviewing it is to look at where you are today and then talk about those long-term goals and strategies. I know sometimes this can be very painful to think about, where am I going to be, and sometimes we're just focusing again on the day-to-day. But my theory is if you think about it, get it done, have a plan and a goal, and you're working towards it, you don't have to worry about it. I always say to clients, you're going to worry more because you don't have the plan. You're going to worry more because you don't have the solutions. You haven't done anything to get there, so you worry more. It becomes I'm going to do that. I got to remember to do that, as opposed to there's a peace of mind to know that you've prepared a plan for your business, not just now, but going in the future. So what are some of the steps you can take to protect and strengthen your current business? Obviously, I wouldn't have a State Farm agency and not mention insurance, but other things that business owners need to think about is protecting your income in the event of a disability, managing your business and assets effectively. Being a small business owner, we have sometimes small amount of assets, and so one thing that could happen and throw us off, and next thing you know, the business is either shrinking and going back to the startup stage where you don't want to be, or you're having to retool and go back and redesign the business. So again, the other things to think about, does your plan include funding an adequate retirement plan for that transfer stage? Do you have a plan for your employees? Do you have a continuation plan strategy to ensure your business continues and passes on to your family? I was joking with another business owner again, saying, I have to sleep, eat, and breathe my business 24/7. So if I'm going to do all of that and that mental space is taken away from my family, I should make sure that I'm prepared to have this business and all the time and resources put in pass on. So what does it take to have a sound solution comprehensive plan for your business? My approach to working with you is to develop an overall program for your business that is based on your needs, your goals, and your unique risks. Not just because we're all small business owners. Some of our challenges will be similar, but some of them will be unique just to your business. And again, I'm just pointing out on this slide that State Farm has a variety of tools that we can utilize to customize to your business. Once again, I'm just pointing out we're offering a complimentary insurance and financial review where we can customize what are some of your concerns specific to your business. You can reach out to me on my website, www.zdglover.com, or reach out to me on my email, which is zanetta@zdglover.com. So let's focus in and get deeper. So what's going on today with the business? The first area you need to consider is having proper protection for the assets. What did you buy to get this business started? Not just the money, but what did you use those resources for? Assets are not just property though, it's the money that you put into the business, but it's also you, the business owner, and key people in your business. What are you doing to protect all of those assets? From a financial perspective, this means having adequate protection to help shield your business from different types of threats, including loss of property, obviously potential lawsuits, health and disability issues, and premature death. Again, biggest concern I hear from business owner is cost. So I want to get down to addressing that. Most common thing I see when clients come in my office and they're discussing what are their insurance needs. First of all, most of the time they're renting a space somewhere and somebody has required them to get general liability insurance. At that point, I start to, assess the business for them, but they're always worried about cost. If you went to this length to start a business, you should take the time and make sure you're partnering with somebody who's not just trying to get what you want checked in the box, but they're also talking with you and walking you through of some concerns. And again, looking at where you are in the stage of your business. Small business owners assume most of these things are extremely expensive, a lot of the products, but I know at State Farm we've priced and scaled our products to, one, the exposure of the business, the risk associated with the business, and again, I'm not going to charge you like a Fortune 500 company. I'm going to look at your business and say what is appropriate for your business. The one great thing about State Farm, we do have the business package policies. They're flexible to include, obviously, if you own the business, if you're renting the business, your inventory. We also include that general liability along with the property policy. So unlike large business owners, they usually have to buy all of their products one by one. They have one commercial property policy, they have one for loss of income, then they have another one for liability and another one for auto. Our foundation starts with a package policy for small business owner. That policy is going to include that general liability that you need. Typically, when you're renting space for your business, that's the first thing you're asked to get is that certificate of insurance. Our policies will obviously include that, but then we're going to also, at a reasonable cost, hopefully, depending on the exposure of your business, is offer you insurance to protect the property that you've invested in. Obviously, some business owners include commercial and business automobiles. Depending on the type of vehicle, we can also protect those kinds of businesses. One of the other challenges I find with a lot of small business owners, they forget to look at workers' compensation. It's one of the critical, even in a startup stage, you have to make sure it's also a compliance issue. A lot of workers' compensation laws are in place to protect the employees while they're injured in the course of employment. So again, we offer that for small business owners. And again, State Farm is here to kind of hit that niche in the market that's overlooked. One last thing I'll point out, which I see a lot today, and I get a lot of small business owners. A lot of people are working on businesses out of their homes. Their businesses are now mobile today. So one of the things that most business owners forget is that most property policies only cover the property at the insured location or within 200 or 100 feet of the location. But with businesses being so mobile today and moving in and out of different locations, you can end up not having coverage for some of your critical assets that you may take to a trade show, you brought them in the car. All of those things you need to consider in terms of if you're bringing a huge amount of inventory to locations and sites, you need to make sure that while your property is changing locations, that not just that basic policy, but even moving around would help your business. And again, I'm surprised the number of business owners that take the risk to invest in a business, but then don't take the time to adequately protect the business. I'm here to support you. Again, shoot out some questions and post if you have any specific concerns or questions. Again, this is real brief. As I mentioned, most people start out with worrying about that general liability policy. As I mentioned, our package policies include that, but what does general liability provide? It's the foundation of your liability coverage. It protects you, obviously, for slips and falls, property damage, sometimes personal injuries. Sometimes you can also have advertising injuries, and people think, oh, it's no big deal, but depending on your net worth, the wrong lawsuit can wipe out your assets. I always say to people, especially my clients, they'll say, well, if I get sued, it's going to be on you. And I'm like, no. Let's be clear. Insurance is a financial mechanism. It is a financial tool. And I always say to my clients, we write checks. What you're asking us to do when you buy insurance is to finance that potential risk or loss that you have associated with exposure from your business, and all I'm going to do is write a check without the proper evaluation of what exposure do you have, what is your net worth, do you only need $1 million, do you need $2 million, because with that lawsuit, if you don't have enough financing, technically that's what insurance is financing that loss, you don't get to dismiss it. There's a lawsuit for $2 million, you only have $1 million in coverage, the other $1 million hits your books. That's your assets that are exposed because you didn't get the proper evaluation or the proper coverage. So again, it's critical, especially again as small business owners. I know it's tough to always have somebody looking at these things, but I just want to again mention that we at State Farm, that's what we're looking at. This is our sweet spot in working with small business owners. Other things you need to look at, obviously if that general liability isn't enough, I know a lot of my clients ask for the umbrella policy, but they're not quite sure what it does. The umbrella policy obviously gives you higher limits than your basic policy in your general liability policy, but it's also intended to fill in some gaps where there isn't coverage under that general liability policy. And it can also, just like the concept of the umbrella, it can go over more than one policy. So typically it can go over your auto policy, your commercial auto policy, as well as your your general liability policy. Other ones, again, a lot of business owners don't think about is the professional liability. Myself, I'm an insurance agent, I do financial investments. So one of the things I have to be careful of is people rely on my expertise. They rely on me telling them what is the right thing to do. So part of what business owners forget, if you're in some kind of specialty field and you're in a specific profession, you need to make sure that you protect your business. Either you can make a mistake and tell them something that isn't correct and it causes financial harm to the client, or you should have told them. I always explain this as a medical malpractice example, but you're not a doctor. When you go to the doctor, you expect the doctor to tell you, obviously in their professional opinion and with their expertise, to tell you what's wrong. And if they tell you the wrong thing and it causes you injury or harm or some kind of harm to your health, you're going to be upset and potentially want to file malpractice, right? Also, they can tell you the wrong thing or forget to tell you at all. That's kind of where the professional liability falls into place. Whether you're in the tech field, a lawyer, an accountant, those are very specialized fields, and even insurance agencies, or even doing financial advisement. Those are things that are very specific that your customers are relying on you to give your expertise, and it can harm your business. And that is not found in the general liability policy. And then finally, obviously, employment practice liability. I think most people have heard of this today. Simply, your employees can turn around and sue for harassment, discrimination, wrongful termination. Again, these are things that could come up against you as a small business owner, and you want to make sure to evaluate how much of this is a risk to you. Again, remember, State Farm prices and scale these types of exposures to your business and the size of your business. So, what else does State Farm have to offer? Obviously, we do health insurance. Health insurance continues to be a challenge in the U.S. It continues to be a headline topic, especially for small business owners. The cost is so high. I know myself, when I first started to kind of retain key employees, I had to offer benefits, and one of those critical things was health insurance. A lot of people rely on small business owners in the United States as a big employer. Business owners, again, we need to consider individually, what do you have for your own health? What do you have for life insurance? As I mentioned earlier in the presentation, You know, one of the key things in the business is not just the money and the assets, but you are one of the biggest assets and the key thing to this business operating. So you need to make sure, obviously, if you're sick and down, there's health insurance there to keep you going, obviously. And then if you look at the life insurance, it should be a part of your financial program. State Farm offers individual health and life insurance, but again, not in all states on the health insurance side. I just want to make sure I put this waiver out there. State Farm does not do health insurance in New Jersey, but we do have it available in New York. And again, I'm licensed to do both states. State Farm, again, is here. One of the things I love about State Farm, not just because I own an agency, but again, there's a lot of resources, free resources that the agents have available to them to partner with small business owners like yourself to analyze your needs, whether it's on the life insurance side, whether it's on the health insurance side, even on your business. Again, what resources that we provide to you will be specific to your business. One of the other things, once we get past talking just about your individual health and life, one of the other things I'm surprised to know is that a lot of business owners do not, you know, we talk about life insurance, that's obviously on the other extreme, but it doesn't necessarily go there. You can have a serious disability that can harm you from creating income. So one of the things you need to look at in your financial consideration is, what happens if I'm disabled? How do I protect that income from my family? It is an extremely important part of your comprehensive plan when you're looking at your business from a financial perspective. People often don't recognize the risk of disability, therefore they fail to protect themselves. You need to look at how can that income that you bring home and you are contributing to the business can impact on both sides. So, what are the odds of you becoming disabled? This chart here shows, surprisingly enough, people experience one long-term disability before the age of 65. 47% experience a long-term disability at the age of 30 or below. Age 40 and below, or between 30 and 40, there's a 43% chance, and at the age of 50, 36% chance. If you're self-employed, you may be permitted, just keep in mind, a lot of the things I'm recommending might qualify for tax deductions. And again, I just want to put out there, I'm not a tax or legal advisor, but just pointing out these are things that you should consult with your tax or legal counsel. But again, keep in mind, health insurance premiums, tax qualified long-term care premiums, again, they can adjust your gross income and become, rather than an itemized deduction, can reduce the amount of income. So take a look at that and consider some of those things as part of your business. Gotta throw out some facts. Just keep in mind, 90% of disabilities are caused by illnesses and not accidents. So, and just keep in mind too that 65, a lot of people depend on Social Security. 65% of those initial Social Security disability applications were denied. So just throwing that out there. So we've talked about insurance. Like I said, we can't miss and not talk about insurance at State Farm, but let's get into individual investments. What are you doing as a small business owner to invest back in yourself? So where do you stand today? Do you have an asset accumulation strategy in place? Have you looked at an IRA, a Roth IRA, and a SEP? One of the things I always find surprising, I had a client and still working with him today for years. I would say, are you owing taxes? And he says, yes, every year. But then I would say, do you have any kind of retirement plan? And he would say no. And finally, I got him to come in and bring in his taxes. And I simply showed him there was a line on his taxes that said that you could take a deduction if you had some kind of individual retirement account, or even a SEP at that point. And again, we'll get into this later on the different types of retirement plans. These are plans that you can, again, impact on your business from a tax deduction standpoint. I always say to people, do you want the money to go into your retirement account, or do you want to pay Uncle Sam? If there's a way to invest that money back into your individual account, you want to take advantage of that, especially if you know you're owing taxes every year. If you do just have one of these plans already, one of the things you need to do is take a regular look at it, see is it working for you, has anything changed, is it still meeting your financial goals. I know, again, it's surprising for a lot of people, but State Farm has products on this, not just insurance products, but the financial products. So most of the products you'll hear me mention further in the presentation, we have those products available. So we talked about what can you do today? What are you doing to prepare for tomorrow? Remember, we talked about the business life cycles. So one of the things you need to think about is, are you in that growth and maturity part of your business? That's preparing for the future. So here's where you need to go beyond just individual life insurance and investments. You need to start thinking about, do I need group life? Again, it's a very competitive way to retain employees. As I mentioned earlier, we also have business retirement plans, business continuation strategies to support you. So let's dig deeper into that. Group life, as I mentioned, is an economic way to provide benefits to your employees. Again, the most common response I get, I can't afford it, I can't afford it. But note that State Farm, we take as few as 5 eligible employees to get you a group life plan. It doesn't require like a lot of big businesses may need a certain number of employees. Again, this is our sweet spot, and we're trying to compete on that level. It's a good way, again, of retaining quality employees and providing benefits. Business retirement plans. As I mentioned, you can consider an individual retirement account or even a SEP, but once your business is growing and you're really in that maturity stage, you need to think about some of the benefits of getting a business retirement plan. Obviously, we talked about retention of employees. First thing it does, though, you should consider there's benefits to you also. You owning a retirement plan allows you to make higher contributions than an individual IRA account. So that's one of the first advantages. The second is there are potential tax benefits for your business. The cost of implementing a plan may be fully or partially deductible to the business, as well as the contributions you make to the plan on behalf of your employees. So if you're putting in, obviously, the cost associated with the plan and then the money being contributed for the employee. So we talk about where is that money coming from, but a lot of it can be offset with the tax benefits that it has. Again, I'm not a tax expert. You need to consult with your tax and legal advisors for your specific situation. And then finally, obviously, you want to look at, this is a great way of attracting and retaining quality employees. When we look at understanding the benefits of having a retirement plan, one reason business owners may not implement this retirement plan, they're just not aware of the options. But please keep in mind, 70% of workers are offered an employee-sponsored plan. And then when you look at that, 77% of those who are offered the plan are actually participating. So most employees know today the scare on Social Security. So a lot of them are, when they see these plans, they know they need to participate and they want to contribute to the plans. 60% of the workers say that the total value of what they're saving, though, outside of their primary home and other defined benefits, is only $25,000 or less. So in that situation, we still, even though we are concerned about the Social Security and the threat of Social Security, a lot of people are still dependent on it. And you as a small business owner, you want to make sure not just yourself is prepared, but that you're preparing your employees to be able to retire. Again, when you look at those those retirement plans, one of the great benefits we have is we actually set up employee enrollment meetings for you. We can do annual reviews to help educate your employees how to save for retirement. If you look at the last statistic there, you have 44% of workers and their spouses trying to calculate what do they need for retirement. One of the great benefits of us doing it is that we actually can help your employees calculate how much do they need to save today to be prepared to retire. Again, this is a small chart, but I'm going to do my best to just point out to you. It kind of is like the business cycle, what do you need? So the whole point of this chart is just really to give you a comparison of all the different types of retirement plans that are commonly used by small businesses. Again, I can help you select the right plan. I know it's sometimes a lot of information can be overwhelming, but again, I just want to make sure that it's available and what are the pros and cons of each one. The plans we've talked about for retirement so far are qualified plans. These plans are specific with tax benefits and tax deduction benefits, but what if they fall short of what your needs are? A lot of small business owners also consider non-qualified plans, and a lot of non-qualified plans include deferred compensation, a split dollar insurance program, and an executive bonus program. Again, these are other options that you can look at. What they do is, in addition to providing a retirement plan, these plans can also be structured to give incentives for employee retention. Non-qualified plans typically have fewer restrictions also. You can offer these benefits to as few and as many employees as you wish, as opposed to when you look at the business retirement plans, there's a lot of restriction of overcompensating or benefiting the highly high income employees, which is usually you yourself, the business owner. So again, it's a great way to put away money as an alternative to just your straight retirement plan, and the amount can go far beyond the qualified plan. Just keep in mind there's disadvantages to this plan too. It doesn't have the same tax benefits. Business continuation and strategy. This is where I like to say myself as an individual. One of the things I did prior to owning my own State Farm agency, I used to do personal development and coaching, and specifically helping people develop business plans. So this is one of the things I'm always surprised about, is like we go in, we put a lot of time and effort in building the business, but we don't think about how does the business continue beyond me. So let's take a look at that. This is a major concern for business owners. Again, as I mentioned before, if something happens to you, who will run the business? Do you even have a business will, a will specifically about this business? Unfortunately, because of the day-to-day pressures of running a business, many owners put this off, and it's a very important part of planning. We're going to discuss the main two elements, obviously succession planning and a buy-sell agreement. Finding a successor is one of the biggest challenges for business owners, especially you as a sole proprietor. This business is almost like your child. You gave birth to it, right? So it's kind of hard to figure out who would take care of this and love it the same way you do, right? And have the same passion that you have for it. But it's a very critical part of you thinking this through. There's a variety of business succession issues to consider. Like obviously, who would run your business once you're gone? Would you like to sell it, liquidate the business? What is it that you're thinking about? Has anyone already made plans? Again, post out on the site there on Circl what you think you've already done, or what are you already doing. Share your experience with the group so we can all learn and think about some things to do. So let's answer some of these questions. Rather than procrastinating, let's kind of look on how you can continue and benefit of having your plan put together. Buy-sell agreement. A little technical, but let's talk about it. A buy-sell agreement is a contract between you, the owner, and what it does is help establish for the surviving owners on either they're going to buy out the business. One of the things that most business owners don't think about is what happens if you become disabled as a co-owner of a business, or even if you're deceased. You two partners have gotten together, put this business together, but 50% of that business belongs to the other business owner. And that technically could mean that could pass on obviously to the other partner's family members. Do you want to bring them in on your business? Do they even have the technical skills to be 50% of the owner? 50% owner of your business that you partnered with. So one of the things that a buy-sell agreement does is helps to decide, you two as partners, do you want somebody to make sure, obviously you want to make sure your 50% passes on to the family, but what that buy-sell agreement would do is obviously allow that 50% or whatever percentage it may be to be bought out, and then the owner that is still surviving gets to keep the business, but the other family is still taken care of. How do you fund a buy-sell agreement? Again, there's many options. You can start a sinking fund, which is another way you're going to save up for it, but the dangers of that method is that the business could end up not having adequate funding. You can also say that that agreement is that you're going to have to pay your family or whoever it is going to have to pay cash for the business. So what happens with that situation is you don't know the timing of it. So what happens if you don't have enough cash? Then it may be, again, the fear of that other partner coming into the business. Obviously, a loan is also an option. Depending on the interest rates, that can be an expensive way to do it. Again, I just want to throw out life premiums may be a lower method in cost to do it. It's a great alternative, and as you saw on the previous slide, it's also generally a tax-free financing way to do it. The other thing I just want to point out on the last slide, is that one of the other things that you need to consider, now even if you don't do a buy-sell agreement, it's also thinking about key life insurance. One of the things I find is that, if you're that sole proprietor and you're the only one really working that business and you're the glue that's holding that business together, you need to think about, for your spouse or your partner or your family members, what happens if you're not around and we don't have your expertise to rely on to run this business. Again, that life insurance could help them make a financial decision whether they want to go back to school and get educated on how to run the business and take over the business. That can help with that. It can also give them time to keep the business running until they sell it off. Or finally, maybe they want to recruit and hire talent to run the business and still keep that legacy with the family. Again, that's how it can help out. The business owner model conversation, again, quickly on this slide, I just want to point out this is a good way that you can have a conversation on how do you get started. It's a lot of information, a lot of solutions are out there, many different recommendations, but again, I'm here to help you every step of the way. As I mentioned in the beginning, I'm offering a complimentary one-on-one for you as a business owner. But again, this is a good way to get started. This conversation model goes hand in hand with my insurance and financial review. Again, just reminding you of all the tools that State Farm has available for you for your insurance and financial review. So we covered a lot of information in a short period of time. My purpose was to give you a broad overview of the different types of products and services and strategies you need to consider in protecting your business. We discussed several topics, but the key to making them work is to put them all together in a comprehensive plan. A comprehensive plan is not just insurance, but it's also financial products that can help deal with your business issues. You need your goals, your needs and your goals from startup to the growth, or to even to the transfer stage that we talked about earlier in the business presentation. You need a plan that addresses specifically to you. And again, I can help you with that. And again, the great thing about State Farm is we can work with your legal and tax advisors. The key again is to have a comprehensive program that manages both your insurance and financial needs. Where do you go from here? What actions can you take to gain control of your finances? You could proceed on your own. That's one way to do it. And if you've been doing that, the question to ask yourself, how is that working for you? You can explore different options for your business and research a variety of options. But one of the key things is to start doing something. It's a lot of work, especially if you're busy managing the business day to day, and I know, just like yourself, I have a lot of competing items on my agenda, but at least now, hopefully today, I brought you some basic things that you need to think about, and my goal is to provoke thought and hopefully get you to move forward and take action. If you just identify one thing you need to do, or encourage you to take action now on it, although you have competing priorities, it's important that you understand the role you play in your business. Take the time, analyze, ask questions, make informed decisions for the future of the business. If you've taken this much time and energy, and I know what it takes to do it, take the time to make sure it stays with you. If you do decide to do a complimentary one-on-one with me, some things to think about to bring along is your balance sheet, income statements, any recent or brokerage statements you may have, your tax returns, any current life insurance you may have, annuity products, retirement plans. Again, one of the things is clients want to know good or bad of their plans. The review is free. It's not a pressure selling process. That's not my goal. My goal is really to just allow you the opportunity to look and figure out what's working for you today and what do you need to do to consider in the future. Thank you for your time. Hopefully I can answer some questions now and see what we have going posting on here.
Sure. Zanetta, thank you so much for that very informative presentation. As a guy who's owned several businesses, I can tell you that a lot of the groundwork that you've that you've outlined here, I'm definitely going to be following up with you to make sure I have all my I's dotted and T's crossed, T-bills that is.
Great.
So we do have a couple of questions for you. Someone wants to know, does homeowners insurance cover a home-based business, or would they still need to have a business insurance or separate business insurance policy?
There are some owners endorsements that you can have. It obviously depends on the size of the business. If we're talking about a small stay-home business, it could potentially cover the business property, but when you get into the liability aspect of your business, it depends how big that exposure is. But yes, State Farm does have products where we have an incidental business there, where we can increase the business property that's stored in the home, as well as some incidental liability coverage. Just depends on the size of the business, but we definitely have those options.
Someone else wants to know, someone you know, is curious, is there a special insurance for CEOs and top business leaders? And if so, what is it called?
There are, and I don't think we mentioned that, but that does fall in the professional liability. There is directors and officers insurance out there. If it's a board that's a part of your business, and again, it protects those business owners that are serving on the board from their personal assets being attached to the business. So yes, there are. And then obviously I mentioned earlier is the key person insurance. If you're the top CEO there, one of the key things a lot of those business owners obtain is life insurance to protect the business, not just to give to their family, but that key person. What if I'm the CEO and there's a specific influence around me as the key CEO or the leader of this business? One of the things that can do is influence who wants to continue to do business with that company. That proceeds that go back into the business for that key life insurance may not necessarily go to the family, but back to the business until they can recruit talent, but it also funds where there might be a loss initially from that key person not playing or being available in the business anymore. The relationships that they have, the influence that they have, you may have to rebuild that talent or recruit that talent back into the business.
Okay, great. As the person who would need that insurance, that's really good to know. The last question that I see here, continue to post any questions. We have Zanetta for a few more minutes, and just wanted to make a special mention that the Zanetta Glover Financial Insurance Agency is a sponsor of the Small Business Speaker Series. So I want to give a special thank you for Zanetta for sponsoring, as well as taking her time to come in and present this information. One of the questions that we have, you were displaying some charts that showed the breakdown of different plans, and someone wanted to know, can they have access to those charts?
Absolutely. Shoot me an email. The PDFs are available, or I can send it out in the mail to you. My email address is Zanetta, that's ZANETTA @zdglover.com. Also, you can visit my website. A lot of this information is also there, www.zdglover.com.
Okay, excellent. And unless we have any more questions, I think we've made it through the week.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's been a very exciting week, a lot of great information. I've learned a lot personally, and I'm a serial entrepreneur of 30 years, so it's always great to learn new information from other business professionals. Want to thank everyone for joining us here this week, and it's not going to be the last time, trust me. Spend some time in the Circl and you'll see we have a lot of other great things going on. So thank you, Zanetta, thank you, Karen, thank you, Stephen Gomez, all of the other speakers this week. I want to thank our amazing sponsors, ZD Glover Insurance and Financial Services, NBC Universal, PSE&G, Yelp, the New Jersey Institute of Innovation Institute at NJIT, Websignia, and the Women Tech Makers of New Jersey, as well as all of the people who helped to get the word out and make sure that the events were well attended. Capital Impact Group, the statewide Chamber of Commerce in New Jersey, Greater Newark Enterprises Corporation, that was Stephen Gomez's organization we spoke earlier, Social Vibes Media, the New York, New Jersey Minority Supply Development Council, and the SBDC of New Jersey at Rutgers. This is Steve Jones, CEO of Websignia and founder of the Circl, and I hope to see you guys again very soon. Thank you for joining.